What does the future look like for Hull City? As we'll take a look at some of the youth in our system, what they can provide for Hull City in this upcoming season, along with plenty more transfer news and rumours surrounding Hull City. Hello there, and welcome back to HullCityFanCentral YouTube channel, where today we'll be going through everything surrounding Hull City. And first of all, shall we start off with a little bit of an update on Abdurrahman? So Abdurrahman is set to leave Hull City on a permanent transfer. We've known this for a week or so now. Permanent talks remain ongoing with Xiao, as Abdush is expected to not return to Cottingham on Monday. So it's expected that this transfer might be wrapped up fairly quickly. Abdurrahman most likely, if not already, going out to Turkey to go and sort of solidify these moves down. Xiao seem like the front runners at the moment. There's been a few other teams kicking their names around there, so it's expected that Abdurrahman will not return on Monday to Cottingham, where pre-season will get going for the Tigers, and instead he'll make the permanent switch going out back to Turkey. We'll give you a bit of an update on a former City player now, and that being Xiao Pedro. Xiao Pedro is officially signed with Atletico de San Luis. If you missed this one, will Hull City get no money for it, even though they exercised the club option of the extra year in Xiao Pedro's contract? They then later terminated that to allow Xiao Pedro to move over to Atletico de San Luis on a free transfer. So, interesting one there. Wish him all the best over in his new adventure in Mexico. So, an interesting one here. Hull City are remaining in talks with LDU Quinto for the transfer, once again, of Oscar Zambrano. Zambrano has spent spent part of last season on loan at the MK Stadium before that was cut short due to the doping ban allegations. He won't be able to play until November, but City still seem confident about signing him, and still seem confident about his what he can provide for the squad moving on from November forwards into the final sort of stretch of the season. Of course, December, busy time for any championship club, not least Hull City. So will be an interesting one there. Certainly seems like a no-brainer to bring Zambrano back. We saw how good he was last season, and to see him back in a Hull City shirt would be absolutely beautiful. He was fantastic in the spells that we saw him. Unfortunately, went down with the doping ban allegations, but that's the way things work, isn't it? He seems fit, ready to go, so if Hull City do sign him, he probably would come back and be part of the sort of the pre-season training camp, ready to get going for the upcoming season. So, of course, November would be his start point for City, but interesting one. I'll keep you today on all of that. A little bit of news about our current Tiger now, Casey Palmer. Well, Casey Palmer's done with his international duty now, as he's played in 5 of Jamaica's games this summer, including a full 90 minutes in last night's loss to Panama. Well, I personally expect that Palmer won't start pre-season with the Tigers on Monday, but instead he'll start it a bit later, maybe a week or two later than the rest, due to his busy summer, and hopefully that we do see the best of Casey Palmer this summer. He's done all right out on international duty with Jamaica. Jamaica haven't had maybe the best international break, with not getting the qualification in the final group staging of their CONCACAF Con Cup or whatever it was. So it'll be interesting to see what the state is of Casey Palmer when he turns back to the City camp, but things are looking quite good for him after having a bit of a productive yet busy summer. Another player on City's cards, another young player Hull City are looking to sign, as their interest is mounting in Tottenham and England youngster Mickey Moore. Mickey Moore, although he is a youngster, he has also featured 20 times or over 20 times for Tottenham's senior side. He's grabbed a goal and a few assists in the process there. It's expected that this move would be a loan one, as a young player for a Premier League side. That's pretty much how things go here, and that he has featured a few times in Tottenham's camp, especially last season at points where there was a few injuries, and he sort of slotted in. I think he started a few games as well at points last season for Tottenham. So would be a very interesting one if Hull City can pull it off. Be a nice loan addition. Certainly seems like a player with bags of potential inside of him. Featured in England's youth rankings all the way up to under 19s, maybe under 21s. Not 100% sure on that, but certainly featured in England's youth rankings, Tottenham's youth rankings, and as I say, senior-wise for Tottenham. He can play as a striker. I think he's better playing out on the wide, and Hull City have said that they are looking maybe for another wide player, so Mickey Moore could be that man. Well, Hull City are also interested in signing another young player, this time being a young goalkeeper in Kerr Reynolds. This will be from Hamilton Academical. The Tigers would have to pay a 6-figure fee to grab the under-18 shot stopper, who has plenty of potential and has also featured for Scotland's national youth sides. Hull City seem like the front runners for this one. It would be a brilliant signing. Most likely he would get plugged straight into the under 21s, as they currently have one goalkeeper on the cards in Callum Yam, and maybe, or he could maybe send out on loan. In the under 18s levels, we have a few different goalkeepers there, so maybe he could feature out on loan or plug straight into the under-21 side, as he is a promising young shot stopper for the Tigers. If that deal does come off, which it's sounding likely at the moment. So, bulk of the video. Why don't we talk about the future of Hull City? What youth players will affect this side moving forwards this season? So I thought I'd go through some of the prominent youth names that we do know about, and what their outlook might be for the season within Hull City, whether it being featuring for the senior team, going out on loan, or staying in the under-21s, under-18s youth rankings. Before that, a little bit of a side note about Hull City's transfer business this summer. We're expecting 5 more names, a couple of them maybe before we jet off to Turkey. Of course, if you do want to go with Hull City to Turkey, they are running their competition once again to take fans with them for the pre-season tour over in Turkey. I believe they're there for 7 days. I'm not sure how long you would be there with the whole tour thing. So go and check it out over on Hull City socials, Hull City. Go to Hull City, you'll see a link to the competition if you want a free trip to Turkey. So, we'll first of all start off with our goalkeepers that are listed as on the senior team. First of all, Lotu Tala, we know he's out on loan at Doncaster Rovers for the rest of the season. Well, hopefully, Harvey Cartwright will go out on loan as well. Hull City are looking to try and bring in another goalkeeper to go alongside Panda and Dylan Phillips to allow Harvey Cartwright to go out on loan without having the risk of him becoming a possible backup goalkeeper if Panda or Dylan Phillips, touch wood they don't, but they do get injured at some point throughout the season. Harvey Cartwright would be the man to get called up, most likely, or Lotu Tala, and you really want to see both of them spend a full season out on loan, as their development has been sort of tampered with recently in these past few seasons. So Harvey Cartwright hopefully going out on loan. Another young player in the senior team, James Furlong. Well, James Furlong seems like at a certain point last season, seemed like a possible fix for the left-back position. He went out on loan, had an alright time out on loan, nothing to really write home about, but same again, nothing to sort of fear. James Furlong, I feel like he could go back out on loan, or he could be there as sort of a backup left-back replacement. He's a young player. You probably don't want to see him as a backup replacement. Of course, Matty Jacob is going to be going. That sounds pretty much nailed on. So a left-back cover would be possibly needed unless this Premier League left-back does come through. And, of course, we do have Sean McLaughlin, who can fill in at left-back, as we saw for a good stretch last season. Andy Smith. Well, Andy Smith, it's kind of time's ticking with Andy Smith. He's a little bit similar to Matty Jacob, where yeah, you can send him out on loan again, which possibly would happen. But Andy Smith, it might be time to move on from Andy Smith. Sort of his role in City's squad has kind of been filled for certainly this season. We're waiting to see on a few departures possibly, which maybe could give him a role. But it's sounding like maybe Andy Smith could be getting pushed to the back of the mind in City's sort of landscape of things. Of course, hopefully it doesn't. He's a good young player. We've seen sort of the potential that he's had at various points throughout his time at Hull City. He hasn't really done too well out on loan, where he's given sort of the full game time. So hopefully things do sort of shape around and Andy Smith does get a bit of a nice kick on. But we'll wait and see on that front. So certainly want to keep an eye on there in Andy Smith. Harry Vaughan. Well, Harry Vaughan, everyone's favourite youngster, it seems. Harry Vaughan, it's a case of two scenarios. He's most likely not going to go back to the under-21s. He shone there last season, and really in his time in the under-21s solidified why he is such a brilliant youth player. He then also managed to get into the under-21s for Ireland and did okay over there. I expect Harry Vaughan either to have some sort of bench role for the Tigers this upcoming season, or best case scenario, go out on loan for the entirety of this season to a League One side to go and get a full season worth of football where he's starting pretty much 80% of the games and getting good minutes under his belt. That would be best case scenario, I think, for Harry Vaughan. Now, moving on to the under-21s. So that's everyone from the senior team, sort of youth-wise, that we'll be looking at. So under-21s, I'm not going to go through everyone. I'm just going to go through some sort of key names that have had maybe minutes at the senior level or certainly been on the bench. We'll start off with, first of all, Rocco Coyle. So Rocco Coyle, I expect that this season will be following a similar format to previous seasons for Rocco Coyle. Start season on under-21s. If things get tight, he might get called up to the senior side to get put on the bench, a sort of a name filler, and then maybe get a few minutes if the game does require it. Rocco Coyle, I feel like he could start his season at the Tigers under-21s, and then the lay of the land will probably shape, and he might go out on loan for the second half of the season. I think there is a loan spell in there, maybe not for the whole season for Rocco Coyle though. Another one we'll go quickly on to is Farrell Brown. Farrell Brown really had quite a nice season in the under-21s last season, grabbing a few goals, assists, and really sort of produced his name. We didn't know too much about him coming into the last season and really sort of kick things going. I expect that he will stay in the under-21s for Hull City. I can't see fully a loan move materialising for him at this point, and I think Hull City will be more keen on having his development, his growth being internally at the moment. The last under-21s player that we will cover is Tyrell Sellers-Fleming. Of course, Sellers-Fleming we do know about, and similar sort of situation to Andy Smith, maybe not as far on in his development, but Tyrell Sellers-Fleming, it's kind of do or die time in his sort of mind. He has had some good moments for City and some good moments sort of in this past season. Tyrell Sellers-Fleming, though, probably a loan out for the entirety of the season to a bit of a competitive side might do him the best to allow Hull City to see A, what they have in him, and B, what they can do with him, whether it is a sell-on factor, whether it is he can have some sort of good capacity within this squad. We'll wait and see, but Tyrell Sellers-Fleming, a loan deal for the entirety of the season is what I am predicting for this upcoming season. So let's blaze on into the under-18s. There's a few names to keep an eye on here. First of all, Stan Ashby. Of course, we know about Stan Ashby. He's been called up to Ireland's under-18s and maybe even their under-21s a couple of times over the past years. Stan Ashby, of course, we know who he is and what he has to produce moving forwards. He, of course, is the son of former Hull City captain Ian Ashby, former Hull City legend, shall we say, Ian Ashby. So he has a bit of that riding on him. I believe that Stan Ashby would stay within the under-18s rankings for this upcoming season. Of course, he might move up to the under-21s. I'm not 100% sure on his age at the moment. He is 19, 20, yeah, so he might be moving up to the under-21s level this season, but I expect that he will stay internally as well. Another player to keep an eye on from the under-18s is Zach Jagielka. So Zach Jagielka, I was really surprised with what we saw from him last season in the youth rankings for Hull City. It seemed like every time that I was sort of tuning into an under-18s game or sort of keeping an eye on the score, he was there on the score sheet getting a goal or an assist. So really a name to watch out for the future of Hull City. I presume that similar format to Stan Ashby. He will stay internally for Hull City, whether that is in the under-18s or moving up to the under-21s. I'm not 100% sure on his age, so we'll keep an eye on that for Zach Jagielka. There's plenty more names to keep an eye on through Hull City's rankings, in their youth rankings, but I just thought I'd highlight a few names of some players that caught my eye this past season and what I think they could be doing for the future for Hull City this upcoming season. As we look forward to the fixtures getting announced tomorrow, Hull City start pre-season on Monday at Cottingham, and then they are ready to move out to Turkey for 7 days next month and then return back ready for the start of the season. Oh, I've knocked my mic there in anticipation for the start of the season. So make sure you stay tuned on the channel here by liking and subscribing to keep up to date on everything Hull City. We'll have the fixture announcements out tomorrow. We will also keep up to date on everything transfer-wise for Hull City. So say 5 more players at least coming in for City. 2 or 3 of them maybe before Hull City jet out to Turkey. So I will see you in the next video. And don't forget to up the Tigers.